Hello chaps, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Dutch Spitfire, the channel about modeling and history of the air war during World War II. This is the third and final part of the build of the Airfix 172nd scale Spitfire Mark 1A in the colors of Squadron leader Rupert Lee of 66th Squadron. In this part I will decal, weather and finish the Spit and make a small diorama, and while I do this, we'll take a closer look at 66th Squadron and R6800 during the Battle of Britain. So sit back and relax as I take you back in time. So let's start with the story of 66th Squadron during the Battle of Britain. Its nickname was Clickety Click and was first formed in the First World War in 1916, and when the Great War came to an end it was disbanded in 1919. In 1936 the squadron was reformed again on the area of Duxford, which was part of 12 Group. It flew first with the Gloucester Gauntlet, and as we have seen in the first part, it was the second unit which got the Spitfire in August 1938. And when a war broke out in September 1939, it was one of the most experienced squadrons to fly with the Spitfire. The squadron was kept in readiness, and somewhere in those early months of the war, the squadron had its first enemy contact with the Chronicle 111 over the coast of Norfolk, England. On the 9th of April 1940, 66th Squadron got a new squadron leader, Rupert Lee. After the German invasion of the Netherlands and Belgium, the squadron moved to area of College Hall. On the 12th of May, a flight of 66 took part in the sweep over the Netherlands. The day thereafter, on the 13th, as we have seen in the first part, 66 escorted Bulletin Paul Defiance over the Netherlands. It was in the evening, and 6 Spitfires of the squadron and 6 Defiance of 264 Squadron were ordered to conduct a strafing mission along the Dutch coast. Along the way they were shot at by Dutch anti-aircraft fire, luckily with no damages. And when they reached the southeast of Rotterdam, they spotted Stukas and attacked them. But soon the Stukas could help of 27 Bf-109s, and they developed a dogfight. In this dogfight, 66 managed to score their first kill. And as we have seen, one Spit of 66 went down. The pilot safely bailed out and returned safely to Clickety Click. 66 Squadron also took part in the action over Dunkirk, and in this action they lost 2 of their pilots. On the 10th of July, at the start of the Battle of Britain, 3 of the Spitfires of 66 took off from College Hall to intercept the Dornier 217, which was on a reconnaissance mission looking for British convoys. They managed to intercept it successfully and shot it down. On the 26th of July, Rupert Lee got a new Spitfire, R6800. Rupert maintained the pre-war custom of having his rank painted below the windshield. He did it also on R6800. On the 24th of August, 66 Squadron took part in a big wing with 3 other squadrons. 111 Group asked for reinforcements. One squadron of this big wing had some enemy contact. It was one of those scrambles that the big wing was too late, as Luftwaffe had already bombed and damaged the fighter base at Noordwelf. On the 26th of August, once again, 66 took part in a big wing with the 111 Group. Only one of the 4 squadrons of this wing made contact with the enemy. It was not 66 Squadron. In the beginning of September, Dowding shoved his forces to give the units that were thick in the battle some rest. And so, on September 3rd, Clickety Click moved to Kenley Air Base in 11 Group. In 12 Group, they had not so heavy fighting and had less action, and so had suffered only a few losses. But the first week in 11 Group, it was very different. The first day in 11 Group, and 66 was immediately thick in the action. A large force of 70 German bombers and 200 Ma-109s tried to attack an aircraft factory. Together with other squadrons, 66 scrambled to intercept the enemy, and with success they drove the enemy off. But 66 suffered heavy losses. 6 of their Spitfires went down. The day thereafter, the 5th of September, was also a hard day for 66, They lost 3 Spits. On 7th of September, 66 was on a routine patrol. Jane Home picked up a small formation of enemy planes. 66 was sent to intercept them, but he broke off when he saw there were BF-109s on a fighter sweep and went home. In this hard week, 66 lost 8 of their pilots. On the 10th of September, 66 moved to Gravesend, a satellite base of RAF Biggin Hill, which looked out over the Thames. The pilots liked it there. Because it was an old civilian airpost with a dispersal room, there was an old clubhouse, with all the accommodations which a military base did not have. The last of the first week had to be filled with new pilots. Some were experienced pilots from other squadrons, other were rookies, among them Pilot Officer Hugh William Riley, a Canadian. On the 14th of September, 66 together with 72 Squadron faced a large formation of German bombers. A large and fierce dogfight broke out with the escorting German fighters. Among them the German expat, the Luftwaffe called her expat, Adolf Galland. The 2 squadrons luckily got reinforcements of 4 more area squadrons, among them the brave Poles of 303 squadrons in the Hurricanes. 15th of September, Battle of Britain Day as it is known today. On this day, 66, as part of Sector Biggin Hill, was together with 72 squadrons scrambled at 12:10 am. The Biggin Hill force consisted out of 20 Spitfires and were sent to the south of London and had to wait for the arrival of the German bombers. Rupert Lee led the squadron to fly in the Vic formation because he knew there was a battle coming which was ideal for the Vic. Rupert had his most experienced pilot, the leading ace of 66, Bobby Oxspring with his section, to cover the squadron's back. Once the bomber arrived, they were thick in the fighting. A few Spitfires, Oxspring in his section, climbed over the bombers to intercept the German escort of 9 BF-109s. He managed to drive them off. 66 was the first of the 5 squadrons which attacked the bombers. Rupert ordered the attack, in line astern, in front and below, each section of the squadron firing and breaking away on the German bombers. A BF-109 shot down 166 Spitz. Oxspring managed to shoot down and damage a German bomber. Hubert Dizzy Allen, another experienced pilot of 66, managed to shoot down 2 bombers. In total, the Biggin Hill section managed to shoot down and damage around a handful of bombers. On the 24th of September there was a fog, and 66 was sent to engage enemy bombers. They made no contact with them, but were engaged by some German fighters. It was not ideal weather for a dogfight, and the fighters weaved around each other in the fog. It's probably in this weather that Rupert thought that his wingman was an enemy fighter, and that he ordered to paint the spinners of 66 red, to be more visible as friendly fighters. On the 27th of September, 66 went to intercept 116 enemy planes. When they made contact with the enemy, 66 went to a defensive circle because the bombers were below them and the fighters above. They went attacked the bombers in line astern. Once the action began, 66 became scattered, and each of the Spitfires fought their own combat. Pilot Officer Riley managed to shoot down a BF-109 during this, and went in the zone to Gravesend. October began with bad flying weather. On the 4th of this month, one of the most popular pilots of the squadron, Flight Lieutenant Ken Giles, was shot down when he tried to intercept a lone Heinkel 111. The squadron grieved about his loss. The day thereafter, the squadron was again in action, where they claimed the number of enemy aircraft destroyed. The following days the weather became better and better, and there was a lot more action against the German fighters than the bombers. On the 8th of October, 66 went on escorting a convoy over the channel for the British coast. 66 was bounced by BF-109s under the lead of Galland. One of 66 Spit was shot down by the German expat. On the 11th, 66 once again was bounced by BF-109s, and this time the German expat Werner Mulders got one of clickety-click Spits. 17th of October, 66 went to intercept an enemy fighter sweep of around 300 fighters near Kent, England. Pilot Officer Hugh Riley took R6800 Lupus Leith mount into combat. that developed a huge dogfight, and sadly again Mulders was there and shot down Riley with R6800 near Corkham Hill 7 Oaks. And so the trusty warhorse of Rupert came to an end without his rider. As it was a sign of the end of Rupert Lee with clickety-click, he left the squadron the next day, on the 18th, to be replaced by Hubert Dizzy Allen, one of 66's most experienced pilots. On the 25th of October, a last Luftwaffe attack. 66 was again in action. Once again it was Mulders who shot down one of its Spits. This time it was the leading ace flying officer Robert Oxspring with 6 kills on his name. Luckily Oxspring survived by bailing out. On the 30th of October the squadron moved to area of Westmelling. On the 2nd of December 1940, 66 was together with 74 Squadron, under the lead of the famous ace Salem Maryland. They were on an offensive patrol, and for the remainder of the stay with the 11 Group, they took mostly part in these sort of actions, which brought them further to the French mainland. On February 24, 1941, 66 moved out of action to area of Exeter and Devon, in the southwest of England. And so, we have reached the end of the episode and the end of the trilogy of Rupert Lee and his Spit, in which I have tried to place him in the context of World War II. If you want to know more about the Battle of Britain or the Spitfire, I have in the text below a last part of reference material, which I have used in making this video. I hope you like what I'm doing on my channel, and if you do, like and subscribe, so I'm able to make more and better content which you like.